Hey, what's up, GW? It's like 4 or 5 o'clock. I don't know. This time change got me screwed up. But anyway, I came downstairs and I just popped in an old horror film called Motel or Mountaintop Motel Massacre. Now, you probably haven't heard about this film, and if you did, it played briefly on Shudder and it's available at Amazon Prime and it's available, I think, on DVD. I do not know if a Blu ray copy has come out yet. But if you're a fan of 80s movies, you might want to check this out because this one is pretty interesting to talk about. It's about this woman, Evelyn, who finds her daughter worshiping Satan. She goes crazy, kills her daughter. Then, for the rest of the movie, Evelyn is hearing voices telling her to kill everybody in the motel. And the motel is cheap, $7. And it's called the Mountaintop Hotel. Now, a few things about this movie is that prior to it being released in 86 is when it came on to into theaters, or actually got a really good theatrical run. It was released 3 times, guys, under different names. It was called Horrors of Mountaintop Motel. That was December 1st of 84. Mountaintop Hotel, it was released previous in theaters July 15th, 1983, finally setting on Mountaintop Motel Massacre, which was released in, like I said, 86. Now, another thing about this movie is it was filmed in Louisiana, Oil City, Louisiana, which I didn't know, Louisiana had an Oil City. I thought Pennsylvania was the only one that had an Oil City, so I learned something there. The lead character, or the lead killer, is played by Chappell, believe it or not. The movie was released or made in 83, but shelved till 86. I guess distributing rights or something kept the movie from being seen. But anyway, kills include Anne B. Chappell's character kills people with sickles, rats, snakes. There's a snake bite in the movie shortly in the beginning. But the makeup was never really there. They had a limited budget. How does she kill people without them noticing, you guys wonder? Well, she comes up through the floor. Little trap doors in each one of the rooms. So she has a little underground labyrinth to go from, point A to point B, killing people. Interestingly enough, too, when you watch this, apparently this movie was released in the Netherlands, in the Dutch part of, the world. There's an alternate ending where instead of the alternate ending we get on the VHS copy from America, we get an alternate ending for the Dutch version, which is a single shot, being shot by the sheriff, hitting Anne B. Chappell's character in the head, done deal. So I'm not going to ruin the US ending, but that is the Dutch ending. So if you guys go over to Netherlands and you happen to see it, you know how the movie ends. I spoiled it for you. There's also a goof in there. It's in the very beginning. And you have to really look for it. And if you didn't notice it when you watch the film, you'll have to go back and rewatch it. In the very beginning, like I said, Anne B. Chappell's character kills her daughter, who is practicing devil worship. And she sacrifices a rabbit. But right when she gets off of the bed to move from point A to point B where she practices devil worship, there is a camera guy who's in the shadows, and you have to hit the pause button, guys, and you'll see it. You know what I mean? So, if you are into movies about killers at a hotel, check this one out. And like I said, it does have some history to it. And I did watch the new Creepshow, guys. I watched the last Creepshow, and I got to tell you, it was pretty interesting. The first one is called Skin Crawlers. It's about a new kind of diet craze that is experimental to say the least. And it works like a charm. It deals with fat-eating parasites. The only problem is they have a little issue with eclipses. And it is probably one of the most splatter-filled episodes I've ever seen. The second part of that finale deals with the Lake Champlain monster. Now, some of you never heard of this, and it is the equivalent of Nessie. And Unsolved Mysteries did a whole segment on this thing. But basically, it's about a daughter, a mother and a daughter, and her brother. Their dad has went out and looked for this thing all over hell and creation and never could find anything. So they live with this guy who's pretty abusive. And one of the coolest things about this episode, it is directed by horror legend Tom Savini. But the gore is not there. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it didn't need to be. This was a movie, or a segment rather, not a movie. This was a segment about basically, what's real and what believes. No one in the family except the daughter and the brother believe that the Lake Champlain monster is real. And when it washes up on shore one day, they get the chance to witness something crazy. And of course, somewhere along the line, the abusive father or the abusive boyfriend or whatever he's called is going to get it, because that's how these things roll, guys. If you're abusive, you're going to get killed. We've seen this in another Creepshow episode about the scarecrow. The big brother picks on the little brother, and at the end of the episode, bang, the little brother gets revenge via the scarecrow, and it's always the supernatural entity that does it. It's never the kid himself. But that's what you get when you're abusive in these films. You just get wiped off the face of the earth. And for an ending, it was pretty good. But Skinwalkers, like I said, is basically the most splatter-filled Creepshow episode I've ever seen. And it really does not skimp on the gore, guys. I mean, we've got chest blowing up. We got eyes popping out. I mean, there's a whole ton of stuff in this. But it is an interesting story, and it is a sort of satirical take on the weight loss industry. Because that's crazy stuff nowadays. You got people, that ain't going to eat for 5 days to lose 10 pounds to be in a modeling contest. You have people trying experimental pills. So it makes sense that Creepshow would do that. Turn a horror look at this whole thing. But getting back to what I was saying. Definitely check out Mountaintop Motel Massacre. If you like that film, check out another one from the 80s called Slaughter Hotel. And if you guys want something current about killer hotels, check out Vacancy and Vacancy 2, the first cut. But I'm telling you, watch Vacancy 2 before you watch the new one. Owen Wilson, I think, is in the second one. So I hope that you guys check it out. And the critics really trashed this Mountaintop movie. And I won't lie, it's a little bit of a slow burn. But it's an interesting piece of 80s, horror that not many people know about. And I hope y'all like it. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely give it a whirl. And like I said, it was released 3 times under theaters, and I don't know of another horror film that was ever put in that position. So definitely check it out. Kills are pretty cool. The motive is pretty interesting. And it pulls from the Friday the 13th, where the voices, sort of hit the screen. When Jason's mom goes, channels Jason and says, "Kill her, mommy, kill her." It's kind of like that, but instead of Ann B. Chappell's character mouthing the words, you actually hear it. So it's a little bit different, but definitely it works. It's good motive. The music is not too bad in the film. It's dark. And the only other gripe that I do have about the film is that the dialogue, it seems like it's a little paper thin. But you know what? For a slasher movie, you guys don't go into a slasher movie for dialogue. You go to a Quentin Tarantino movie for dialogue. You go to a slasher film to see a body count. So that doesn't really matter. Anyway, definitely check that movie out. It's not the greatest horror film in the world, but it is a surprise, and it's I think, very hard to get. And like I said, I do not know if they put that on Blu-ray or not, but you guys can check. It's not worth buying, but I pulled it off Shudder some time ago, so, I just dug it up. But, yeah, definitely give it a whirl. Another one that is kind of like that is a movie called Ghost Keeper. And you can find that one on YouTube. It has an alternate ending. It's a Canadian film, and it's a very, very slow burn movie. But I watched the whole thing, and my thing with slow movies is they're good if they get your attention. Like The Witch. You know, if you guys ever seen that film, The Witch works for one reason. Because you stick around the whole movie, and it's not a constant letdown. Now, some people would get up and leave because they can't stand, blandness, or slow. But if it builds to something, it's pretty awesome. So definitely look those couple up. Trying to think if there was any other killer hotel movies. Not sure. But yeah, slow burn film. But Ghost Keeper's pretty cool. And like I said, check that one out on YouTube. I'd have more time to explain it, but I need to have coffee, guys. So, but you can read about it. And it was almost a movie that was never made. But my man Ryan Nicholson has it on DVD, so I know it's pretty good. But it's a really neat film, but you got to stay with it, But again, the dialogue is goofy, and it wasn't even supposed to be the way it was, but it was, and it works, So definitely check those out. Trying to think of what else. I don't know. I'm just on the 80s kick here, so we're going to see what else comes down the pike. But like I said, Creepshow, definitely a good finale, and I'm glad they're bringing it back for season 2. And I'm glad to see that Tom Savini threw his directorial, skills to the ring when it comes to this episode, because like I said, it's not gore-filled, but it does show that he can bring the mystery to horror. And like I said, the Champlain Lake Monster, if y'all never heard about that, check out Unsolved Mysteries. They did a clip about it some years back where, it's the same thing as the Loch Ness Monster. People claim to have seen it, but there's no real evidence. But then you wonder if there is something really out there. So it's interesting to see that spotlighted, at least that part of it. So that story's pretty local. And it's pretty neat. It's a pretty neat little deal there with the Lake Champlain Monster. If I find any YouTube videos or something, I'll post it on there. But like I said, Unsolved Mysteries did do a sequel, and it was pretty awesome. And it made you really think, By the way, you can catch those on Film Rise. I'm sure there's an episode on there. I just can't remember which one. It was like season 3 or 4, maybe even 5, where they did that. But like I said, Mountaintop Motel Massacre, definitely a storied horror film. And like I said, it's not the greatest, but it's fun to watch, So that's my take on it for this morning. I hope this time change don't screw all y'all up. But if I see anything else noteworthy coming down the horror line or dig up something from the past, I'll definitely bring it to your attention. Another thing real quick, my man Zane, I just want to give you another shout out, man. So Zane, Kuvalutin, I hope you guys, check out this movie, because Kuvalutin wrote me, and I hope I got that name right. He wrote me and he says that, hey, Greg, you bring back all my 80s horror films. You talk about them when no one else does, and I'm glad I could help you out. Because like I said, I've seen a lot. I know of a lot of crap. So definitely, like I said, definitely 80s. 80s is my timeline. I know more about that crap than anything. So, but yeah, Motel Mountaintop Massacre, check that one out. And like I said, Vacancy 2, the first cut, and Slaughter Hotel. And I think you're pretty much, Hotels of Death are pretty much covered in there. 3 stars. Greg Warner says check it out.